I urge all of my colleagues to join me in supporting H.J.Res 100, a Congressional Review Act that nullifies the Security and Exchange Commission's ill-advised cybersecurity disclosure rules. Under this new reporting regime, public companies are required to publicly disclose any cybersecurity incident they determine to be material within 4 business days of the company's determination. Further, the final rule requires new annual report disclosures regarding a company's cybersecurity policies, procedures, and risk management. Disclosing such information could potentially compromise the confidentiality of a company's cybersecurity program and reveal details such as the scope and frequency of testing, the nature of third-party systems, and specific remediation activities. Public and private stakeholders across the federal government, including the Biden administration and critical infrastructure sectors, have emphasized the need to harmonize existing and future cyber regulations. Unfortunately, the SEC's disclosure rules do just the opposite. Instead, they directly conflict with the ongoing efforts required under the Cyber Incident Reporting and Critical Infrastructure Act, CIRCIA. Through this legislation, Congress solidified its intent that CISA is the lead federal agency for cybersecurity and should be the primary intake point for cyber incident reports. It is clear that our nation must increase resiliency to cyber risk across the board, particularly within our critical infrastructure sectors, but we must find the right balance between regulatory burden and improving security outcomes. One way to increase resilience is through greater transparency around cybersecurity risk management and strategy. However, public disclosure of ongoing incidents risks opening companies up to further attacks. While the SEC made some changes to the scope of reporting, publicly disclosing even the existence of a material incident before it's remediated would achieve the same effect as disclosing a vulnerability before there is a patch. This would only lead to attackers flocking to exploit the vulnerability for themselves and building a repository of sensitive information on victim companies. To this point, we have seen a ransomware group weaponize the SEC new disclosure rules. After breaching a public company's information systems, the group filed a whistleblower tip when its victim did not publicly disclose the cyber incident. This exploitation shows an escalation in a steadily increasing trend of pressure tactics by bad actors. Disclosing an incident too early or disclosing incomplete or inaccurate information may increase exploitation of vulnerabilities, jeopardize investigations, and increase the likelihood of frivolous litigation. In turn, this will only harm investors and result in mispriced securities and uninformed market speculation. Before I close, I want to speak on a point that you may hear today from opponents of the CRA. In an attempt to ease any national security, public safety concerns of a public disclosure, the SEC authorizes the Attorney General to delay the disclosure of a cyber incident. Let me be clear, no company will be able to take advantage of this disclosure delay. Under the guidance, a company must immediately alert the FBI when it determines an event is material and file a request including a variety of details, some of which may not even be available or accurate at that point in the time of response. The FBI then has 2 hours to confirm the company is eligible to make the request and ask other federal agencies for their input on whether disclosure would have a negative effect on national security or public safety. Following the FBI's 30 hours of fact-gathering and analysis, the referral is then passed to the Department of Justice to make a final determination, which would most likely be denied based on the DOJ's own guidance. If you don't believe me, look no further than statements made by senior officials from DOJ, FBI, and CISA, who have all expressed reservations that many, if any, disclosure delays will be granted. At the end of the day, the risk posed by this rule outweighs any potential benefit that could be gained from acquiring these additional transparency measures and should be struck down. I hope my colleagues on both sides of the aisle join me in voting for the disapproval of this resolution.